and gentlemen, welcome to another interesting session. This platform is designed for Cameroonians under the age of 40 who believe that we can achieve peace, unity, and prosperity in Cameroon without violence. If you are above the age of 40 and you believe in this initiative, we welcome you. But if you are above the age of 40 and you think otherwise, then this platform and this video is not for you. Today, we have a fascinating guest, one of the most brilliant minds in Cameroon. He's a accomplished author, a professor in history, a brilliant mind. His authenticity in articulating the history of our nation. Today, you are going to understand the real history of our nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any time, let's welcome our guest, Professor Victor Ngoh. Professor, welcome to this program.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think this is one of those unique opportunities which we have in order to at least get Cameroonians and the general public understand the history of Cameroon. So thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, Professor. Professor, I would love for us to dive straight into these questions because beginning with, I think we've lost a lot of people, Prof, for the past 7 years, going on 8. Many people have died. Young people are being misled or they do not know their history. And I believe that what you're about to say today has the capacity to mark the turning point of our nation. And so, Prof, I want to ask you the first question. Was the third option the most popular as most Anglophones claim?
Well, I think you have set the stage very well. The crisis, which began in November 2016 and degenerated into an armed conflict, which has claimed so many lives, is very sad, very unfortunate. Before I answer your question, I would like to point out how painful it is to recognize that you have a situation, this first situation so far in the world, it has never happened before, where a group of people claiming to fight in support of the population, that group of people is instead dehumanizing the population. Because this crisis has seen Anglophones who call themselves Ambazonians with their armed forces assassinating, kidnapping, dehumanizing the Anglophones whom they claim they are fighting for. It's very painful, very, very sad, and it makes me weep. Now, coming to your question, there's one thing which I would like all of us to understand. Those following this debate, there's one thing wanting or wishing that something happened the way you wanted it to happen, and the thing happened the way you did not want it. it is very unfortunate that Anglophones are looking at the third option from the perspective of the post-1984 situation in Cameroon. We have to look at the third option at that particular period in the history of British Southern Cameroons.
Okay.
The third option between 1949 and 1961. Was it popular or not?
Okay.
All the authentic documents, records, interviews indicate that the third option, independence as a separate state, was not popular during that period, that crucial period. And these are the facts. We all know that in 1945 and 1946, British Cameroons, just like French Cameroon, became a United Nations Trust territory. And Article 76B
Okay.
called on Britain and France as the administering authorities to administer, in the case of British Southern Cameroon, administer the people towards self-government or independence.
Okay.
According to the circumstances at the time and the express wishes of the people. This is important.
Mm-hmm.
And to ensure that United Nations visiting mission visited Southern Cameroons 4 times. 1949.
Okay.
1952. 1955. And 1958. And they gathered petitions and complaints on political issues, economic issues. And there was no request, I repeat, no request for independence as a separate state. The records are there, the documents are there. 1949, 1952, 1955, 1958. There was no responsible request for independence as a separate state.
Wow.
What Cameroonians fail to understand and distort the trend of events. In 1956, the Southern Cameroon Fronts and Chiefs held a meeting in Bamenda, during which they said they wanted neither water nor fire, which meant that they wanted neither association with Nigeria or reunification with French Cameroons. This was in 1956. During this period, the political parties were the KNC, the KPP, the KNDP, and the UPC as far as Southern Cameroon was concerned. The KNC and the KPP opted for independence in association with Nigeria. Initially, the KNC had wanted reunification. When the KNDP was founded in 1955, it had reunification as its goal. So when in 1956, the Fronts and Chiefs came out with, we want neither water nor fire.
Yes.
The Fronts and Chiefs were not speaking on behalf of the totality of the population of Southern Cameroons. And to tell you what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
While this was going on, the UPC was a very prominent political force in French Cameroon and in British Southern Cameroons. And the UPC wanted what? Independence and reunification. In fact, broadly speaking, immediate independence and immediate reunification. It should also be underscored that a vast majority of the population, especially in the forest zone of British Southern Cameroons, had interacted for long with the Sawa people of Douala.
I see.
So the KNDP platform was reunification. But it should be underscored that with the outbreak of UPC activities in French Cameroons, the KNDP was reluctant to come out very strongly in favor of reunification. The KNDP said what? We would discuss reunification afterwards. Unfortunately, in 1956, the KNDP sent a confidential letter to support prisoners pressure group. That letter was signed by John Ngoh and Lebaga, asking for financial support from support prisoners pressure group because we want to be with our brothers in East Cameroon.
Okay.
The letter is there. That was in 1956, October 1956. Please give us financial support, help us. Because unlike the KNC and the KPP, we want to be with our brothers in Eastern Cameroon. But that was it.
Wow. So, Prof, looking at... yes, go ahead, Prof.
Yes.
Go ahead, Prof. So,
in 1957, and this is where things start turning.
Okay.
In 1957, there was the London Constitutional Conference. And the KNC, led by Dr. E.M. Indeli, the KPP, led by N.N. Mbile, the KNDP, led by Fofoncha, they all moved to London. Von Gallagher II of Bali went to London in 1956 as a member of the KNC. It is good to point this out.
Okay.
And the KNC's platform was independence in association with Nigeria. We're talking of 1957. At the London Constitutional Conference, Von Gallagher II sent a telegram to Von Achirimbi II of Bafut, asking him to tell all the fronts and chiefs to support the political platform of the KNDP, which was, broadly speaking, reunification. So you now see the fronts and chiefs, their position of 1956 had changed. The records are there. And this so angered Dr. E.M. Indeli to the extent that during the resumed London Constitutional Conference of 1958, Dr. E.M. Indeli decided to drop Von Gallagher this second and took the phone of Boom in Womb. So we are now in 1956, and in 1957, and 1958.
Yeah.
In 1958 May, Dr. E.M.L. Indeli became the first prime minister, premier of British Southern Cameroons. And as history it is, we should be very, very, very careful.
Yes.
Dr. E.M.L. Indeli was not prime minister from 1954, because I've seen many distortion. He was leader of government business. He was not prime minister. He became prime minister in May 1958.
Okay.
In January 1959, the KNDP won the general elections of January 1959. The KNDP had 14 seats. The alliance of the KNC KPP had 12 seats. We now had a situation where the KNDP, controlling the Southern Cameroon's House of Assembly,
yes,
was out of reunification. Although the Frontier and the KNDP always put in ultimate reunification. We want to separate from Nigeria, and then we'll decide what to have in the future. But bear in mind And this is where history becomes a very, very interesting discipline.
Okay.
Bear in mind that in 1956, Frontier, the KNDP, had sent a confidential letter to support Prizo, saying that please support us, give us financial assistance, because unlike the KNC, KPP, we want to be with our brothers in Eastern Cameroon. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
In February 1959, PM and Calais left the KPP and founded the Cameroon United Party. And the Cameroon United Party, the KUP, came out for independence as a separate state. This is where Cameroonians and the Anglophone activists, some of them, misread this situation.
Okay.
PM Calais, in February 1959, formed his party, the KUP, with a platform of independence as a separate state. Unfortunately, he did not have this support. So if those who are saying that independence as a separate state was the most popular, what happened that PM Calais, who created a political party with the sole political aim of independence as a separate state, did not have the support.
I see.
We are talking of February 1959, did not have the support.
So what you're saying, Prof, is that the overwhelming majority of people wanted us to reunite with our French-speaking brothers.
Yes, that was the KNDP platform.
Okay.
The ultimate goal. So and to get it very clear, in May 1959,
yes,
May 1959, that there was a secret meeting in Lagos, attended by the British Secretary of State for Colonies, John Ngoh Foncha, Joa, and S.T. Muna. And the British Secretary of State for Colonies told them, please tell us what you want, and Her Majesty's government will inform the United Nations, and the United Nations will, quote unquote, meekly accept. Get it very well. We are talking of May 1959. Tell Her Majesty's government what you want, and Her Majesty's government will inform the United Nations, and the United Nations will meekly accept. And he went on to advise, you have a stronger position should it be backed by a motion from the Southern Cameroon House of Assembly. We are talking of May 1959.
Yes.
And the Southern Cameroon Assembly was controlled by the KNDP. That should be made clear.
Yes.
Earlier in February 1959, the KNDP, the neck of the KNDP, the National Executive Council of the KNDP, held a NEC meeting February 1959. And NEC proposed that Southern Cameroon should join French Cameroon before French Cameroon gets its independence. Hear this well.
Okay.
The records are NEC of the KNDP held a meeting in February 1959 and resolved that Southern Cameroon should join French Cameroon before French Cameroon gets its independence in January 1960. And the KNDP was the ruling political party in British Southern Cameroons. We now move forward. There was the National Union of Cameroon Students, NUCS.
Yes.
National Union of Cameroon Students, which was a very strong political pressure group, very, very strong. And all the political parties wanted NUGS to declare in favor of its policy. NUGS held a meeting in Kumba in July 1959, in Kumba. And in that meeting, the NUGS president was Boniface Nassa, who died just last year. And in that meeting, Funchal, in his address, made it very clear. I want to repeat, made it very clear that in the political dispensation in British Southern Cameroon, there are only two options.
Okay.
Association with Nigeria and reunification with French Cameroon. He made that very clear. There are only two options. Association with Nigeria, reunification with French Cameroon. And he said the KNDP stood for reunification with French Cameroon, unlike the KNC-KPP, which stood for association with Nigeria.
I want to interrupt you a little bit, Prof. Let me get some clarity here. So,
Fine.
Before Britain gave us the two options, either to join Nigeria or join French-speaking Cameroonians, was this something that was is this something that was predominant within the English-speaking Cameroon, or is it that Britain presented this to us, or we initially had some debates or conversations and this was like a popular thing that we wanted to join French-speaking Cameroon?
Well, let us be clear.
Okay.
Right from 1922, the British policy in British Cameroons, both northern and southern Cameroon, was geared towards administering the people in such a way that at the end of the day, they will accept independence in association with Nigeria. Because even the financial economic reports, which the British asked for, some of the financial reports were tilted to give the impression that Southern Cameroon was not financially viable to survive as a separate state. That one must be made clear. But surprisingly, at that same period, especially in the late 50s, we had well-educated Southern Cameroonians.
Okay.
Who would have criticized the British reports. But coming back to your question, in August 1959, there was the Marseille plebiscite conference. And there, the KNDP and the alliance of the NCKPP could not arrive at a consensus on the political future of Southern Cameroons. And remember what happened in May 1959 in Lagos. I'm sure you've understood what I said happened in May 1959 in Lagos.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, Prof.
Where the British colonial secretary, the British Secretary of State for Colonies, asked Muna, Fonja, and Joa to tell Her Majesty's government what they wanted.
Yes.
And they advised that their position will be very strong with a motion from the Southern Cameroon House of Assembly. In September, the Southern Cameroon House of Assembly met, and that motion was tabled, and it failed. That is made very clear. The KNC, KPP tabled a motion that they will go along with the KNDP on the issue of independence as a separate state, on condition that the phrase ultimate reunification should be dropped. And it was not dropped. So the motion failed. It is there on record. So now we have the situation. The politicians in British Southern Cameroon could not agree on a consensus as far as the political future of the territory was concerned. The matter was therefore shifted to the United Nations.
So what you're highlighting right here, Prof, what you're highlighting is there has always been disunity among the leaders of the Southern Cameroons.
Exactly, especially with regard to the ultimate political
future
situation of Southern Cameroon.
Okay, that's okay.
And you know the instances, the processes. So they could not agree in August, the Mamave plebiscite conference. They could not agree on the political future of the territory. The problem was now moved to the United Nations.
Amazing.
And in September, the KNDP, led by John Ngufoncha, the KNC, KPP of Dr. EML in Delhi and Bile.
Yes.
They now moved to the United Nations in New York. On their way, they stopped in London. And during the dinner offered by the British Secretary of State for Colonies, the issue of independence as a separate state came up. Get it well.
Okay.
The issue of independence as a separate state came up. And when they got to New York, the Southern Cameroon delegation presented the issue of independence as a separate state in a very, very reluctant manner. I said, because all along, and of course with in Delhi, they knew that they saying that there were just two options, association and future. At the United Nations, some of the UN members were comfortable with the idea of Southern Cameroon achieving independence as a separate state. What is important and surprising is that even at the UN in October 1959, Foncha was not firmly in support of independence as a separate state. And it got to a point where at the UN General Assembly, when the discussion came up, Foncha asked for an extension of British administration of Southern Cameroons.
Why?
Of course, his ultimate goal was what? Independence by reunification. And he said Southern Cameroon was not ready at that time, and British administration should continue. And this shocked Abel Mukon, who was a student, but was a member of NUCS. He attended the UN session. Gojidinka was also there. Unfortunately, I say fortunately, Gojidinka is still alive.
Wow.
Because it got to one point that Abe Mukon was very angry with Foncha for having asked for an extension of British administration in the territory. And Abe Mukon held Foncha for a fight in the corridor. And it was Gojidinka who separated them. Gojidinka is still alive.
So this was prior to Gojidinka traveling to UK to study law.
He was at that time a student, just like a Boniface, Nassau's NUCS, and Zoe Kangaki. They were all students, but very, very active in the political decolonization of British Southern
So
Cameroons.
were they students at the university or were they students in high school, sir?
Yes, no, university students.
Okay.
Well, Zoe Kangati was a student in Ibadan. And because they didn't know that they were in Britain. So when this happened, of course, Frontier asking for an extension, it meant that the third option or independence as a separate state was not as solid as nowadays the Anglophone activists. And you see, within a political setup, there's no activity, major political activity that happens in isolation.
Yes.
Cameroonians and Anglophones should bear in mind the international climate in the 1950s and 1960s.
Yes.
The climate of what? The Cold War. The Cold War. And we are talking of 1959, 1960. The French were being slaughtered or being battered in Algeria. The British in Kenya, Mama, the French were suffering in French Cameroon. In 1960, the Belgians and the Americans were involved in the Congo crisis. So this all made it difficult for the idea of even a separate state of Southern Cameroon to mature.
Makes sense.
Especially in view of the fact that at this time, the Afro-Asian bloc was against the balkanization of Africa. The Afro-Asian bloc wanted the creation of the United States of Africa. And it felt that it would be more easier should African colonies attain independence as big blocks, not in small countries, one after the other. And this was led by Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, Abdel Nasser of Egypt, Sekou Touré of Guinea. So this also worked against Southern Cameroon's achieving independence as a state. And also the impression the British had given that Southern Cameroon was not financially viable to a state. In all of this, what was the situation of the UPC? It is important to bear in mind. The UPC was expelled from Southern Cameroon in 1957. On leaving British Southern Cameroon, the UPC left behind Cameroon, and one Cameroon in British Southern Cameroon was led by De Tumaza.
Awesome.
So while all this was going in 1950, you were against Cameroon independence as a separate state and informed the British government and informed the UN accordingly.
Wow.
That's how finally the two options, independence by joining Nigeria and independence by joining French Cameroon, the Republic of Cameroon, was adopted in October 1959.
Okay, so with that, Prof, that's quite interesting. Like right now, because what we are saying here, there are a lot of young people that do not know their history. I've had a handful of them reach out to me, and the questions that they ask me indicates that most Cameroonians, like you've said in some of your interviews, do not know their history. And bringing light to this is very important. One of the key factors in this entire struggle is the UN Resolution 1608. Can you touch on that a little bit? What is so peculiar about this resolution? And before you answer that, Prof, yes, we had the 11th of February plebiscite. So can you start from there and then we get to the resolution?
Okay. The two options, independent by joining Nigeria, independent by joining the Republic of Cameroon.
Yes.
The KNP was for joining the Republic of Cameroon. The KNC and KPP, which formed an alliance and became the CPNC, was for joining Nigeria.
Okay.
So these two political parties campaign on the platform. Before I get into that, when the third option was rejected, or was not given at the UN, PM Kale, you will recall, had his political party, the KUP.
Yes.
Which was independence as a separate state. When that option was not given, he threatened to protest and to mutilate the ballot boxes. The manifestation which he called failed woefully. It is important to understand it. Failed woefully, which indicates once more that the option of independence as a separate state was not as popular as Anglophone activists nowadays make it.
Okay.
So the campaign went on, and the KNDP won decisively in British Southern Cameroon. That is achieving independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon.
So you will say it is popular. The idea of achieving independence as a separate state is more popular today than it was back then.
That is what they claim nowadays. And
okay.
They think that's what obtained in the 50s and 1960, 1961, which is not true.
Makes sense.
Which is not true. Yeah. So the elections came, and the KNDP won. It should be made clear that there was a very active population of French Cameroonians in British Southern Cameroon who campaigned for reunification and financed reunification. That should be made very clear. So when the elections, the plebiscite took place, you had, of course, some French-speaking Cameroonians along the boundaries of Loum, Mbanga, and the other areas who crossed over and voted in favor of reunification. That also must be said. So when the results came out, since it was UN organized and British Cameroons was a UN trust territory, the results had to be proclaimed, had to be accepted and proclaimed by the UN. So they now moved to the UN and presented the results.
So right there, Prof, I want to understand something, because there are a lot of young people. I know that you speak very eloquent and intelligent, and I think I want to be interrupting you because I want the young people to gain clarity. So yeah, so with that, Prof, I want to understand something right there. So you are saying that this plebiscite that led to us joining French-speaking Cameroonians was not conducted by us, but by the UN. So there was the UN was present in that process.
Everything.
Okay, awesome.
Observers, everything. Where UN employed civil servants.
Makes sense.
Okay. So they went to the UN, and a lot of discussions took place on whether the result should be accepted or not. It was finally tabled and proposed the acceptance of the results for Southern Cameroons to achieve independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon, and British Northern Cameroon to achieve independence by joining Nigeria. Hello?
Yes, Prof. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, Prof.
There's one point that young Cameroonians should understand.
Yes, Prof.
There's lots and lots of distortion. When it was put to a vote, and the Republic of Cameroon voted against, Anglophone activists and some historians who misread this situation are saying that the Republic of Cameroon voted against Southern Cameroons having independence.
Yes.
I don't know if you have heard that.
I haven't heard that. I'm hearing that for the very first time. I mean, like just looking at the excerpts from your book. Yeah.
Yeah, you have some Cameroonians, some activists, Anglophone activists, saying that the Republic of Cameroon voted at the UN against Southern Cameroons having independence. And this is so unfortunate, so shameful, because those who advance this idea refuse to accept that in December 1960, Ahidjo and Fonja had signed what we now call the two alternatives, recognizing that should Southern Cameroons achieve independence by joining Nigeria, this is what will happen, A, B, C, D.
Okay.
Which means that for anybody to think that in April 1961, the Republic of Cameroon voted against Southern Cameroon having independence is madness. What the Republic of Cameroon voted against was this. The Republic of Cameroon argued that the organization of the plebiscite was not well done in northern Nigeria.
Oh.
And that in northern Nigeria, Nigerians were allowed to participate in the plebiscite.
Okay.
And the Republic of Cameroon accused the British of promoting the rigging of the plebiscite in northern Cameroon. That was one of the arguments the Republic of Cameroon put. And therefore, the results in British northern Cameroon should not be accepted. Secondly, they said, should the results of British Northern Cameroon be accepted, since Britain was giving British Cameroons to be administered as a trust territory, then the results of British Northern Cameroons and the results of British Southern Cameroon should jointly be added and proclaimed, which means that the results from British Northern Cameroon should not be proclaimed separately from the results of British Southern Cameroons. I'm sure you are getting me.
Yes, I'm understanding you, Prof. Yes.
Because if this was done, the British Northern Cameroons result and the British Southern Cameroons results added together would have meant that British Northern Cameroons and British Southern Cameroon would achieve independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon.
Makes sense.
That was what the Republic of Cameroon wanted. And when the UN refused to accept this, the Republic of Cameroon decided to vote against it. Not against the independence of Southern Cameroon, but against the way the results were calculated.
Amazing. Amazing. That is amazing clarification. Prof, I want to understand. Yes.
This is what should be made very clear. Because most Cameroonians, I've heard them, I've read books that say, oh, the Republic of Cameroon voted against the independence of Southern Cameroon. Why are they insisting now that Southern Cameroon should not separate? Which is a completely wrong reading of what obtained in 1961. Okay. Coming now to your point, UN Resolution 1608 of 21st April 1961.
Yes.
recognize the organization and the results of the plebiscite. British Northern Cameroon would achieve independence by joining Nigeria, while British Southern Cameroon would achieve independence by joining the Republic of Nigeria. And Article 5 or Paragraph 5 or Clause 5 of UN Resolution 1608 calls on the United Kingdom, the Republic of Cameroon, and Southern Cameroons to initiate measures which would ultimately lead to the termination of the trusteeship agreement on the 30th of September 1961.
Okay.
Initiate measures that would lead to the termination of UN
trusteeship
in Southern Cameroon on the 30th of September 1961. It is important to read Resolution 1608 very clearly. It did not call on the United Kingdom, Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon to come back and get approval. I want to make that very clear. We are dealing with text, not sentiments. It did not call on the United Kingdom, the Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon to come back and get approval. What is required was initiate measures, which meant that these three countries should meet and agree on how the plebiscite results will be implemented. Therefore, three important and tripartite meetings were held. And this is where those who don't know Southern Cameroon's decolonization history fail to understand. Three tripartite meetings were held.
And so these meetings were held after the resolution 1608 was issued in April.
Exactly, because paragraph 5 called on the United Kingdom, Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon to initiate meetings to put into effect the plebiscite results. So the three countries, United Kingdom, Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, held three important meetings to work out measures that will lead to the termination of UN and trusteeship midnight 30th September 1961.
Okay, Prof. Before you talk about the tripartite meetings, I want to get something clear. Like I said, I want to make sure the average man understands what is going on. So the plebiscite results were positive, and the plebiscite result is what actually determined our fate.
Of course, and it was an overwhelming victory for the KNDP. 293,000 votes against about 97,000. We are talking of 233,000 yes and 97 no. So it was an overwhelming victory.
Okay, let me make, before you talk about the tripartite meetings, Prof, which is more important, the plebiscite results or the UN Resolution 1608? Which is more important to determining our fate as English-speaking Cameroonians? Is it the plebiscite results or the Resolution 1608?
Fine. This is where I will happily take you back to UN Charter 76B.
Yes.
UN Charter 76B says what? Administer the people towards self-government or independence, depending on the circumstances and the express wishes of the people. Express wish of the people. And the plebiscite of 11th February and did what? Afforded the people the opportunity to express their wish.
Okay, makes sense.
Express what they wanted. So it fell in line with Article 76B.
Makes sense.
Okay. So the tripartite meetings, the first held in Boya, the second held in Boya, and the third held in Yaoundé. But before then, a secret meeting in Yaoundé by Ahidjo and Foncha.
That is the bilateral meeting.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in that meeting, at the end of the meeting, Ahidjo gave Foncha the draft federal constitution. Draft federal constitution. And both leaders discussed when the next meetings will hold. And Ahidjo, in giving Foncha the draft, felt that Foncha would discuss it with his colleagues in British Southern Cameroons. And also bear in mind that the animosity between the KNDP and the CPNC had been resolved in New York when Indeli and Foncha signed a truce saying that they bury their differences and will work together to ensure that reunification is a success. That was in April 1961 in New York. They came to Buea in May 1961 and reaffirmed the truth that they were going to work to ensure that reunification was a success. So when Ahidjo gave Foncha the draft, May 22, in the meeting May 22 to May 24, 1961, it was with the understanding that Foncha would present the draft to his colleagues in British Southern Cameroons. So the first tripartite meeting was in May in Buea.
Yes.
The second tripartite meeting was in June in Buea.
And prior to the second tripartite meeting, there was the bilateral meetings in Yaoundé. So in total, right now, we have 3 meetings that have been held following the paragraph 5 of the resolution 1608.
Exactly.
Okay, Prof. Proceed.
So
yes.
For Southern Cameroons to prepare for the Fumban conference, Southern Cameroons politicians agreed to meet in Bamenda from the 26th of June to the 28th of June 1961 to prepare for the Fumban conference. This is very, very important.
That is the Bamenda All-Party Conference. Yes.
Yes, from June 26th to June 28th. And the sole item was to prepare the constitutional position of Southern Cameroons, which will be presented in Fumban. When in June, the second tripartite in June, which held in Buea, Ahidjo gave Mona another copy, a second copy of the federal draft constitution. And this was given in the presence of ST Muna.
Wow.
In the presence of ST Muna. So Cameroonians should know that, because
so a draft constitution was given to a draft constitution was given to Foncha in May in Yaoundé, and then then the second constitution was given to him in Buea at the second tripartite conference.
Yeah, that is another copy of the same draft constitution.
Okay.
And this time in the presence of ST Muna. And it was believed, it was intended that Foncha would discuss the federal draft constitution with his other colleagues at the Bamenda or Constitutional Conference, because the sole point on the agenda was to prepare the Southern Cameroon's constitutional position in view of the Fumban Conference. Foncha, unfortunately, only called a very restricted group of KNDP officials, very restricted, and showed the draft. So when they went to Bamenda, the Southern Cameroon delegation was discussing and hammering on the constitutional position of Southern Cameroon, which was completely at odds with what Ahidjo had given Foncha. And Foncha did not table it in Bamenda, did not tell the Southern Cameroon's, his Southern Cameroon's colleagues that I'm here like this. Ahidjo had given me the draft. So let us work on this draft. He did not tell them. So they were working on their own drafts with having a Senate, House of Assembly, and all that. Whereas all what they were discussing and adopted was contrary to what Ahidjo had given Foncha.
Let me make something. Let me make sure. Let me step in a little bit, Prof. So, right, I want to understand something. Does the members of the Ambazonian movement, are they aware that Foncha did not present this draft constitution to the Bamenda people or the English-speaking people? Are these Ambazonian leaders aware of this historical fact, this specific incident?
Some of them are aware, but they have been dishonest. I say this with all sympathy, because when I said it in the late 1980s, early 1990s, I was castigated. I was insulted that I was distorting history, that Foncha did not hide it. Foncha did not have it. But later on, classified documents have been declassified, and now they are all inquired.
Wow.
Now they are saying that, well, Foncha did not show them because it was not necessary. The KNDP was in power. The KNDP controlled the House of Assembly. Whereas it was not true. The House of Assembly was 13 KNDP, 13 CPNC. And what comforted me was before Ngoh, the death of Mankon died, because he attended both the Bamenda all-party conference and the Fumban conference. Before he died, he gave an interview in which he recognized and made it very clear that Foncha was given the draft, but he did not table it in Bamenda. The Ambazonian leaders know this.
Wow.
They know it. So now from the Fumban, from the Bamenda conference, you can imagine how prepared they were.
Yeah.
To when they were going to Fumba.
That's sad.
It is important to bear in mind that Southern Cameroon politicians were very used to constitutional conferences.
Yes.
The Constitutional Conference of 1954, 1956, 1957, 1958, they were used to it. So they were well prepared. Only for them to go to Fumba on Monday, the 17th of July, 1961, at 11 a.m., when Ahidjo, in his statement, made it clear that he hoped that the Southern Cameroon delegation had read the constitution, the draft which he gave Foncha, and the hall went silent. The Southern Cameroon delegation bench went silent. And it was the Dr. E.M. Indelu took the floor and said in clear, simple English, some of us are seeing this draft for the first time.
Wow.
Can you imagine how embarrassing it was?
That's sad.
Some of us are seeing this draft for the first time. And Dr. E.M. Indelu requested time for the Southern Cameroon's delegation to study the draft. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
In the hall. And they were to study what? The supreme law of the land. And Ahidjo gave them time to study the draft. And even in the meeting in Fumba, that Monday, Frontier made it clear, and this is where I would like to get Cameroonians to understand, because they keep on saying that the United Kingdom refused to attend Fumban conference, did not attend the Fumban conference, they violated their whatever. But at that conference, Frontier made it very clear, it will be, in the drafting of this constitution, it will be foolish to look for help elsewhere. It is there on record.
So let me understand something right there, Prof. So what you're saying is, as the leaders of the Southern Cameroons were surprised seeing that draft constitution for the very first time, they studied it right there. So they took some time and looked at it before they went on to debate about what will go into the final constitution. Is that correct?
No, in fact, there wasn't any debate that Southern Cameroon will say this, Republic of Cameroon will say this. They were given the time to study. You understand that it was on Monday.
Okay.
They were given the time till Thursday. Can you imagine working on a constitution you were seeing for the first time a draft? You had only 3 days. And then most of the evenings were and devoted to partying, drinking, dancing, and all whatnot. So when did they really do injustice to the constitution, to the draft constitution? It got to a point where Augustine Ngoh complained loudly that he has never seen a situation where the constitution of a country is written in 3 days. But that was what he said in Fumba. So at the end, they worked on the draft, what they could do, and then on Friday they presented their suggestions of proposals. And what is disturbing is that in their presentation, they thank that is Indeli and Frontier, thank Amadou Ahidjo for having allowed them to go through the draft constitution of the Republic of Cameroon. And get that very well. Cameroonians and Anglophones should understand what I'm saying. It is not Victor Julius Ngoh saying it. Victor Julius Ngoh is just a messenger saying what happened. Indeli and Frontier thanked Ahidjo for having allowed them to go through the draft. And yet, at the same time, we have been told that they went to Fumban as equals. How could you have gone to Fumban as equals and to not present your own draft for the two parties to and discuss? You have the draft of Republic of Cameroon and the draft of Southern Cameroon. That was not what happened. And then, what Cameroonians should understand, because if you have not worked on Fumban, you have not done research on the Fumban conference, you'll be completely misled.
Yes.
Be misled. At the Fumban conference, Ahidjo recognized that the time was too short and there was much work to be done, and felt that the delegations should go back to their respective capitals, look at the draft again, and come back.
Okay.
Just thinking. Unfortunately, the Southern Cameroon delegation did not press on that. Did not press on that. So it came to that. And what came out from Fumba, I've said this until I'm tired. I will say it again. It was not a constitution. What came out were constitutional proposals.
Okay.
That should be made very clear. No constitution came out from Fumba. What came out were constitutional proposals, and Ahidjo made it very clear that the next conference will put these proposals into constitutional form. Make it very clear. And then he said he hopes that all of you, we shall meet again in the next conference. And it is important to keep and this in mind. I just thought that the CPNC, the KNDP, the One Cameroon, those who were in Fumba, they will meet again in Yaoundé for the tripartite talks.
Mm-hmm.
And what is interesting is that before Fumba, the Southern Cameroon Bar Association had been created. This is what some Anglophones don't know. And the Southern Cameroon Bar Association, knowing fully well that the Fumban Conference will be discussing constitutional issues, legal issues, offered its services to the Southern Cameroon government and requested to be part of the delegation to the Fumban Conference. But the Southern Cameroon Bar Association request was rejected. That should be made very clear. Because some Cameroonians who don't know, they have been told that, Southern Cameroons lack lawyers, this and that. It's not true. The Southern Cameroon Bar Association offered its services, and the services were not accepted. So now we move to. Yes, please.
Yeah. Prof, before we proceed, so what I want to understand, so right there, we are recognizing that this is a failure in leadership on the part of Foncha.
Not only on the part of Foncha, you can say on the part of Foncha, because Foncha was the Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon. He was the head of government.
So he's the one who took the proposed constitution and did not disclose it to his people.
Yes, he only did that to his very, very restricted KNDP officials in Yaoundé, not in Bamenda.
Yes.
Restricted, and those who knew about it, when they got to Bamenda, they could not talk, because Foncha was the PM and the leader of the party. You cannot go to a conference with the leader of the party and you start talking on behalf of the party if the leader has not given you the floor.
Yes. So another thing that I want us to understand right there, because Prof, one thing that I've seek to do is to make history applicable and help people understand, or young people understand, how to use history. Because that is why we cannot rewrite history, but we can learn from history. So I think so right there, what we are understanding is, based on what happened with Foncha, if we are about to make a crucial decision like joining French-speaking Cameroon, if there is information, even your opposition should be able to look at it, and so you guys can come up with kind of a conclusion that will be good for everybody. So we set aside our differences and walk towards the growth of the entire community, and not just for his party. So I think that is what we are learning right here, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, of course it does, and the ultimate goal is the interest of the people.
Yes.
The national interest.
Not the party. Not an individual.
A personal interest or individual interest. No. Once you have the interest of the nation at heart, then you will not find it difficult to invite the opposition parties to sit with you and come out with a common solution.
Yeah.
So from Fumba now, they went to Yaoundé for the Yaoundé tripartite talks, and this was the third tripartite meeting in line with paragraph 5 of UN Resolution 1608.
Okay.
And that must be kept in mind. So when they got to Yaoundé, the Ahidjo delegation and the French delegation met from the 2nd to the 4th of August. Yeah, the Cameroonians should get this very well. Because unfortunately, most books on Cameroon history, for reasons which I've not been able to understand, downplay the Yaoundé tripartite talks. Whereas that's where the constitution was finally, constitutional proposals from Fumba were put into constitutional form. But most Cameroonians talk of only Fumban.
Yeah. I studied history in high school, and what they emphasized was the Fumban conference. Yes, that is true. Very true.
It's wrong. It gives a completely wrong picture, and very few historians have stumbled on the files of the Yaoundé and tripartite talks. So the Southern Cameroon delegation and the delegation of the Republic of Cameroon met between the 2nd and the 4th of August, and and adopted the constitution and agreed on the constitution of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. Agreed on the draft constitution of the Federal Republic of Cameroon.
I see.
This should be understood very well. Why I'm saying this is because I've heard some historians say that the British refused to participate. They allowed the French, they allowed the Republic of Cameroon to impose. But they failed to understand that the Yaoundé tripartite talks, there was a bilateral meeting, Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, from the 2nd to the 4th, and the federal draft of constitution was adopted. So when the tripartite talks per se held on from the 5th to the 7th of August, the issue of the constitution had been settled. That should be made very clear. And when Ahidjo informed the British delegation, the British delegation was led by Christopher Eastwood. When Ahidjo informed him that they had already agreed on the draft constitution, Christopher Eastwood thanked Ahidjo and thanked Foncha for having done that work. So the British did not even look at the draft again, since the British delegation was told in the meeting, we have already solved this problem. So and there we are.
So right there, Prof. So from what I understand, in Cameroon, there was it all started with the federal system.
Yes.
Yeah. So my question is, looking at that federal structure, if you are looking at the constitution, so definitely in the constitution was the idea of federalism. Who initiated federalism? Was it Foncha or was it Ahidjo? Who initiated the concept of federalism?
That's what they had agreed in October 1960, and they had also agreed in December 1960, and they published the two alternatives.
So this is something French-speaking Cameroonians and English-speaking Cameroonians unanimously agreed to implement a federal system.
That reunification will be on a federal basis.
Okay.
So what is important is that at the Yaoundé and tripartite talks, it was made clear that the National Assembly of the Republic of Cameroon will deliberate and adopt the draft. Get it very well. The National Assembly of the Republic of Cameroon we deliberate and adopt the draft. And Joa raised his hand up, and said it would also be nice for the Southern Cameroon House of Assembly to also deliberate and adopt the draft. And he was told, whatever constitution the Republic of Cameroon adopts, Southern Cameroon is bound to accept.
Why, Prof? Why?
And that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And you won't believe that the Southern Cameroon delegation went to the Yaoundé tripartite talks again without the Southern Cameroon Bar Association. Without the Southern Cameroon Bar Association. Because normally, once Joa raised that very important point, and he was told that whatever constitution the Republic of Cameroon adopts, Southern Cameroon is bound to accept, nobody took the floor to support what Augustine Ngoh said. And the matter just died down. Just died. And it is also, because now it is important to bear in mind and ask, if the Southern Cameroon delegation had the Southern Cameroon Bar Association as a member,
yeah,
would the lawyers have sat quietly? The answer is no.
They would have been very instrumental, yes.
No. So at the Yaoundé and tripartite talks, because there were 6 items on the agenda, and one was the transfer of a sovereignty, and this is important.
Let me ask a question. Let me ask a question right there, Prof. Before you finish that statement, I just want to. So, Prof, what are the 3 ways that you achieve independence according to international law, in the context of our situation?
Yeah, that's where I'm coming to.
Awesome.
Because it is important to set the record straight before we get to that point. If not, we shall miss the whole story.
Okay.
So when they were in Yaoundé, the issue of transfer of sovereignty came up, and the delegation of the United Kingdom made it very clear that they are proposing that the transfer of sovereignty should be done by exchange of notes. And he told them that he already had a copy with him, and the English version he will leave it with Foncha and Muna, because he gave Ahidjo the French version. So they argued, and finally the 3 parties, this is important, the 3 parties finally agreed that it will be done through exchange of notes. So those who come and tell lies, and I'm sorry to say it, they believed what the late Roland Fru and Litumbe said, that there must be a union treaty should be signed and a copy deposited with at the UN Secretariat according to Articles 102 and 103. They completely missed the point. The union and treaty refers only to members of the United Nations. And Southern Cameroon was not a member of the United Nations. So it could not enjoy the advantages of being a member of the UN. And secondly, the decision to achieve independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon was not done through a legal negotiation which would warrant a signed agreement. It was a political process sanctioned by a plebiscite. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I'm understanding, Prof. Yes.
So from the word go, the union and treaty did not apply in the case of Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon.
Makes sense.
Southern Cameroon was not a member of the United Nations. So coming to your question, there are 3 ways of achieving independence.
Yeah.
You have by exchange of notes.
Okay.
You have the enactment of independence bills.
Okay.
And independence agreements. So those are the 3 methods. You don't have anywhere they say a union treaty. Yeah.
Okay.
We are dealing with international law. Exchange of notes, enactment of independent bills, signing of independent agreement. Is it clear?
Yes, Prof.
Yes. So then, on subsequently, the the National Assembly of the Republic of Cameroon in August 1961 debated on the federal draft constitution and adopted it. And on the 1st of September 1961, Amadou Ahidjo signed it into law.
So, Prof, let me understand something right now. I mean, like, it started with a federal system, which is the paramount thing. What are the intricacies? Why is there so much deliberation on this constitution or deliberation on the tripartite meetings or the conference when in the beginning it all started at the end of the day when the constitution was adopted? It started with the federal system, which is what I think most of our people initially wanted. What is it that English-speaking Cameroonians wanted in that constitution that they feel like they did not get? What is it? Like, yeah.
No, the point that the constitution, the federal constitution, of course, gives certain powers to the central government.
Okay.
Certain powers to the state government. But in due course, of course, for political expediency, in 1972, the federal system was abolished. And it should be underscored that Amadou Ahidjo and his French Cameroon advisors and French advisors looked at the federal system as a temporary measure. It was not regarded as a permanent system. Their ultimate goal was a unitary system.
So yeah, we'll get into that, Prof. Like, but let me understand something, Prof. I want us to unpack this story, Prof. When you look at Southern Cameroons, there is a popular story that we were a nation. We had our own government, proud to joining the Republic of Cameroon. Can you touch on that a little bit? What is can you explain what that actually means? That we had our own government, had our own police, had our own system going on. We had left Nigeria. We were independent. We had all of these things going on before joining. Because some people are talking about going to look at the Foncha government proud to joining the French Cameroon. So can you talk a little bit on that? Did we have our own independent nation? We had our own police and had everything going on for us? Can you explain that, Prof?
Unfortunately, even some respected Cameroonian lawyers, I don't know if they are doing it and deliberately, tend to argue that Southern Cameroon was a state already independent, had this, but they refuse to let their readers know that there are 4 principal conditions to be fulfilled for a state. 4. First, you must have a well-defined territory.
Okay.
And of course, Southern Cameroon had a well-defined territory.
Okay.
You must have a population. Yes, Southern Cameroon had a population. You must have a government. There, the government that Southern Cameroon had was not a Southern Cameroon government. The government that Southern Cameroon had was in line with Article 5 of the UN, which authorized Britain to administer the people.
It was a trust. It was a trust territory of the British. Yes.
Britain was responsible for the administration, the legislation, and everything. So that and government had to get the approval of the British. I don't know if you understand.
No, I get that.
The government, the Dr. E.M.L. Indeli's government of May 1958 to January 1959.
Yes.
Or the French government from January 1959 to 30th September 1961 had to get the approval of the British. The British signed a British order in council, whatever, to approve. So it was not an indigenous Southern Cameroon government per se. The government was, the British set up that government to enable it administer the people as required by Article 5. That's so the third condition was not clear because that government, the Indeli government, the French government, worked under the canopy of the British trusteeship administration.
So they did not have sovereignty. They did not have like full sovereignty. Yes.
No, they did not. They did not have control over the army. For instance, they did not have control over the police. And more importantly, the first condition, they could not conduct foreign policy.
So it's like Texas in America. Texas doesn't have that sovereignty to sign international agreements. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, so when Cameroonians don't understand, we're this, yes. But out of the 4 conditions, Southern Cameroon fulfill only 2.
So they.
So that would be.
So they had a well-defined territory. They had the population, but the rest of the 2 conditions, they did not have that. They did not have a government and all that. Okay.
Yes. So then on the 30th of September, Madu Ahijo flew to Antico, and in the morning of the 30th of September, a major field left for a London tour in Nigeria in the morning. So the thing should be made very clear. It was not J.O. Field who received Ahijo when Ahijo arrived at Tico at 5 p.m. Should be made very clear. It was not J.O. Field. It was the deputy commissioner, Min, who received Madu Ahijo.
Who is this deputy commissioner, Prof?
Pardon?
The deputy commissioner, is he from the British or from our side?
No, the British. It was a white. The British.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So there was no transfer of sovereignty in Tico, because some Cameroonians made a mistake that sovereignty was transferred in Tico, whatever. So from Tico, the deputy commissioner asked he drove to join him in his official car. So the deputy commissioner and Ahijo drove in his car. Funcha and prime minister drove in another car.
Okay.
And then in the night of 30th September, there was a speech by on behalf of the British British Secretary of State. There was a speech from the Queen, then a speech from Amadou Ahijo, and 12 midnight. You had gunshots and gunfire celebrating the independence of Southern Cameroon by joining the Republic of Cameroon. So that part has ended. If there's any other question you can ask, because the next important issue is why the Anglophone problem and why they are armed and conflict.
Yeah. Before we get so the federal system was adopted, and subsequently it was abolished, or there was a referendum, and there was a referendum, and we moved from the federal system to a unitary system. Can you briefly touch on that and what happened? So there is this aspect of the exchange of notes. What does that really mean, Prof, for the average Cameroonian? Yes.
Yeah, the exchange of notes, as I pointed out, is just one of the three ways that independence is recognized. The British government wrote to Amadou Ahijo. Amadou Ahijo replied in essence saying that following the UN resolution 1608 that recognized the plebiscite results, we now terminate UN trusteeship and administration, and the territory becomes independent by joining the Republic of Cameroon.
So all of this is just facilitating the process towards October 1st. So, but at the end of the day, so the exchange of notes. So, are they proof of these documents, Prof? Because, are they proof of?
Of course. There are the copies of the documents are in the National Archives in Boya. They are in the what used to be called the Public Records Office in London. The documents are there. The documents are there. It is not ESA. The documents are there.
Okay, let's talk about the referendum, Prof. Yes. 1972. Yes.
Yes, the referendum, there are many factors which went into play. But the underlying point which we should keep in mind is that a federal system was regarded by Amadou Ahijo and the government of the Republic of Cameroon as a transitory measure, a provisional measure. It was not meant to be permanent.
Yeah.
So everything was put in place to facilitate that. So when Ahijo talked of the financial expenditure of running 4 assemblies, the National Assembly, the East Cameroon Assembly, the West Cameroon Assembly, the West Cameroon House of Chiefs, running 3 government, the federal government, the East Cameroon government, the West Cameroon government, and all on, not that it was too expensive. Of course, that was all for public consumption.
Yeah.
Because before accepting that the federal system should be in place, they effectively knew that they have to finance the West Cameroon House of Assembly, West Cameroon House of Chiefs, the East Cameroon House of Assembly, and the Federal Cameroon House of Assembly. So that was not really the overriding factor. The underneath factor was that the government or the people of the Republic of Cameroon, right from day one, knew that the federal system would eventually be replaced. And forces and factors facilitated that. I would just quickly mention some. First, the Nigerian Civil War scared the Ahidjo government, because the Ahidjo government believed that should the eastern region of Nigeria succeed, then Southern Cameroons would also want to separate. Secondly, the oil factor. Oil was discovered in Dian, and it played a part. Thirdly, there was serious animosity within this West Cameroon political establishment. That must be made very clear. Victimization was at its height. And surprisingly, Anglophones give the impression that it was all smooth sailing in West Cameroon. No. I'll just give you 2 or 3 examples.
Okay.
For instance, the Cameroon Bank gave out loans to Cameroonians,
yes,
Anglophones. And most of those who took the loans did not even have a collateral security. To the extent that in February 1966, for instance, Cameroon Bank, which was the bank of the West Cameroon government,
yes,
did not have money to pay West Cameroon civil servants. And Augustin Ngomjua had to plead with Amadou Ahidjo to loan the West Cameroon government money to pay civil servants. Secondly, in the case of victimization, somebody like Victor E. Mukete, who had taken a loan from Cameroon Bank and reimbursed and paid the loan, whereas others who own a loan, who took loans, had not paid. Victor E. Mukete was supposed to go to the US on an official mission, and the Joa government blocked him, saying that he had not cleared his loan, whereas he had cleared his loan. It took the intervention of Amadou Ahidjo for Victor E. Mukete to travel to the US. Thirdly, take the case of Zoe Kangaki, a rising star in the Federal Republic of Cameroon. He wanted to have himself integrated in the foreign service. He was prevented, made life very difficult, whereas others were allowed to integrate easily. And most importantly, in February 1972, Augustin Ngomjua sent a confidential letter, strictly confidential, to Amadou Ahidjo, pleading, begging Amadou Ahidjo to come and rescue him, or else he will be killed by Estimona and his gang. Those are his words. Estimona and his gang.
What was going on, Prof? What was going on?
You see the infighting, the hatred within the West Cameroon establishment. And also at this time, the West Cameroon civil servants were earning less than federal civil servants. Mission schools and private schools could not conveniently pay adequate salaries. And they all wanted to be paid like federal civil servants. And they supported the dismantling of the federal system. And honestly speaking, the dismantling of the federal system was popular.
Yes.
All the politicians, the West Cameroon politicians went around campaigning for the dismantling of the federal system.
Anglophone politicians were actually going out preaching this. Okay.
Yes, all of them. All of them. The PM Kemcha, the Henry Langwe, Dr. E.M.L. in Delhi, Martin Luma, John Gufoncha, Zoe Kangaki, Bernard Fallon, Muna, all of them. So nobody should turn around now and say, oh, and one of them did not want it. All went and campaigned. And see this whole thing of saying that, oh, they were scared that if they did not dance to the tune of Amadou Ahidjo, and they would have been killed. That is a very weak excuse. So those were some of the causes in brief. And the most important problem is some Anglophones argue that the dismantling of the federal system,
yes,
the referendum of 1972, was a violation of Article 47. I'm sure you must have heard of that.
Obviously, yes, I have. Yes, Prof. Yes.
So, unfortunately, when reading the Constitution, and constitutional lawyers will tell you that, constitutional historians will tell you that, political scientists will tell you that, when reading a constitution, don't depend only on one article. Make sure you master all the articles.
Yes, makes sense. Because,
yes. Article 5 can give you a certain right, and Article 52 we put conditions so difficult for you to apply the rights. So in this case, they cite Article 47 correctly, which in brief says no revision of this constitution will be accepted if it affects the unity and territorial integrity of the federation.
Yes.
Okay. What they fail to understand, and you ask them a simple question. In a democratic society, sovereignty lies with whom? And of course, everybody, that is political science 101. They will tell you sovereignty lies with the people.
Yes.
And Article 2 of that same constitution says this sovereignty lies with the Cameroonian people. And the Cameroonian people can exercise their sovereignty either through their elected members of parliament or through a referendum.
Yes.
So if you accept that sovereignty lies with the people, and this sovereignty can be exercised either through their elected members of parliament or by a referendum, it means that the people have the right to change the system, as long as it's done either by their elected official MPs or by a referendum. And then that same Article 47 and even Article 18 makes it clear that there are some veto powers were put in place. There were 50 parliamentarians, 10 from West Cameroon, 40 from East Cameroon. And if out of the 10 of West Cameroon parliamentarians, 6 said no, and 4 said yes, which means the 4 West Cameroon parliamentarians plus the 40 East Cameroon parliamentarians, making a total of 44. And if 6 said no, it will not pass. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I understand. Something similar to the system here in the States. Yes.
Fine. So if 6 West Cameroonian members of parliament have said no, then the referendum would not have taken place.
I see.
They all said yes. So those who say it was a violation of the Article 47, it was not, because the sovereign people use the powers of sovereignty to change the system.
They said the election was rigged, and it says we and yes. What can you say about that, Prof? Yes.
That's why I'm coming
Okay.
To tell you how dishonest some Cameroonians are. A good number of Cameroonians who are still alive, they voted in the referendum, and some of them are honest enough to say that there were two ballot papers. The black one had none and no, while the white one had yes and we. So there were two. So that should be made very clear. And then, unfortunately, again, they argue that the French-speaking Cameroonians, the population overwhelmed the English-speaking Cameroonians. That's why the referendum passed. I said no, it's unfair. Don't deceive the ignorant and Cameroonians. The votes were counted separately. West Cameroon vote separately, East Cameroon vote separately, to ensure that one state did not influence the elections, the referendum, and it came out that East Cameroon was 98 point something, West Cameroon was about 99. So they cannot say if the French-speaking Cameroonians were responsible for tilting the vote in favor of the abrogation of the referendum.
So, Prof, what would you say is the cause of the Anglophone problem and marginalization? There's a series of concern about marginalization. Before you touch on that, Prof, like I've heard this from numerous English-speaking Cameroonians that they closed our bank, they closed our corporations, and all of that they shut down our companies and all of that. So can you touch a little bit on that, Prof? Like, did they come and take down everything that we had? What exactly happened?
Yeah, it makes me feel bad because we try to give the impression that the Francophones, all Francophones are devils and all Anglophones are angels. We give the impression that there was no corruption in West Cameroon. There was no victimization in West Cameroon. Mm-hmm. There was no nepotism in West Cameroon. There was no tribalism in West Cameroon. It is not true. We should be honest enough. You cannot solve a problem if you refuse to recognize that there is a problem.
Yes.
Take, for instance, the issue of Cameroon Bank. But I just gave an example that Cameroon Bank could not pay a civil servant. By 1969, Cameroon Bank was a chronic cancer patient. Chronic. Was a living corpse. And the first took loans and could not pay back.
Anglophones.
And yes, it is not. I can call them because I have the documents, but we'll leave that for another time.
Yes.
So for Anglophones to say Francophones killed Cameroon Bank or the federal government, it is not true. Bear in mind that all the branch managers of Cameroon Bank before 1969 were all Anglophones. Bear that in mind. The general manager was an Anglophone. Those who took loans and could not pay were Anglophones. I can tell you with evidence that even when Cameroon Bank took some of them to court to try and get the loans paid, they intervened and called in a heavyweight Anglophone to come and influence the court judgment. Some of them even took loans, built houses, and put the houses in other people's names. Those things are clear; they are there. Take case of West Cameroon, the development agency, it was mismanaged. Can you believe that some of the members of the board of director of the West Cameroon agency could not write their names? Can you believe that? But that's what it was. That's what it was. PowerCam had problems. The Cameroon air transport had problems before Francophone started coming in. You see, what we fail to understand is that we are looking at West Cameroon from the point of view of the 1990s, late 1980s, 1990s, and the 2000. Between 1961 and 1972,
okay,
the proportion of French-speaking Cameroonians in West Cameroon was very minimal. It is not nowadays that you have them everywhere. So Cameroonians, Anglophones, look at the situation in the 1960s from the lens of the 1990s. No. You see, so some of these issues were caused by Anglophones, and of course some were caused by Francophones, the policy that the government put in place. But to give the impression that everything bad was caused by Francophones, it is not true.
So there are other factors that contributed to the shutting down of, say, the PowerCam and the other companies and factories within our sector. So
yes.
It's not entirely on the. So there are some. So the Francophones did contribute as well as the Anglophone as well. So it's not like one-sided thing. Yes.
That one they did want to be honest enough. The government in Yaoundé contributed too. That one is clear. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
So that's the sad part of it, which to be made very and very clear.
So with that, Prof, I want to understand. Yeah. So what will you say is the cause of the marginalization or the Anglophone problem?
You see, I'm not one of those who and try to refuse that there's no Anglophone problem. There is an Anglophone problem. There is an Anglophone problem. But the problem I have with most Anglophones is that they think that marginalization is the problem. Because you hear at one time you said, oh, in fact, no Anglophone have been appointed Minister of Territorial Administration. No Anglophone have been appointed Minister of Secondary Education. No Anglophone have been appointed. That is not the issue. Appointment is not the problem. It is a marginalization, yes, but that is not the problem. The problem, and I've said it and I'll keep on saying it, and Minister Abuama Choi summarized it very well. Very well. The problem is the failure of the Ahidjo government and the BR government to allow these two systems inherited in 1961 to flourish and only blend at the center. That's the problem.
So you think the federal system would have been allowed to exist?
Yes, and that was what was said in Fumban, that the two governments have agreed that the two systems will be allowed to operate, and the blending will only be done at the center. That's the problem. So the consequences of the problem is what you have marginalized situation. Because if the two systems had been allowed to operate as they were, you will not hear of an educational policy that favors mostly French speaking and Cameroonians. You will not find Anglophones complaining of a common law not being applied. The problem is the two systems have not been allowed to flourish as they were. That's it. So the marginalization is a consequence. That's it. It's a manifestation of the problem. And I ask you one simple question.
Yes.
When before 2019, complained marginalization were suffering. No Anglophone has been appointed Minister of Territorial Administration, the Minister of Secondary Education. President Paul Biya appointed them. Have you stopped complaining? I'm asking you as an Anglophone.
No, the complaint continues. No. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you hear them complaining of the educational system is not what we want. The administrative system is not what we want. But the Minister of Secondary Education is who? It's an Anglophone. So it is not a matter of appointment. It is good that the Anglophone should be appointed. Not only good, but necessary. There should be some degree of a balance. But to keep on hammering that we have not been appointed this, we have not. No, it doesn't help. If, for instance, an Anglophone is appointed Minister of Finance, and the powers are not there, it changes what?
Yep.
So the problem is the system of government, the two systems. And this has been aggravated by very poor governance, very poor.
So I'm trying to make sense of this because we have to move past this war and be able to come up with a resolution that actually paves a way for our people. So you are saying that an overwhelming majority of English-speaking Cameroonians as well, English-speaking Cameroonians did agree through the referendum that they want to abolish that federal system.
Yes.
And the federal system was abolished, but you also made mention that the eradication of that system and not maintaining what was agreed during the independence is the issue. So, but the people, like you said, the people actually unanimously agreed to abolish that system. So, so how I want to understand how the Ayijo government or the Paul Biya's government is the leading cause of that issue. If the people unanimously agreed, or the leaders knew better, they would have not brought up an idea like that. Or what are you saying? I want to understand something, sir.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this: something can be constitutionally right, but politically unwise.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sure you get my point.
Yes, makes sense.
Yes, that's it.
So it's still failure of leadership. Yes.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so let's move past that, Prof. So let's look at. So you talk about like the genuine corporate demands by the Anglophone teachers and common law lawyers to arm conflict in quest of separation. What do you make of that?
Yeah, you see, I'm one of those who believe very strongly that the Anglophones, the Anglophone teachers, the common law lawyers had very, very genuine grievances. Corporate grievances, not political grievances. Their corporate grievances were genuine. And honestly speaking, the government had started addressing them and addressed a good number of them. We might say the government procrastinated or whatever, but the government addressed a good number of them. Unfortunately, the government failed to realize that there was a very strong current that wanted and succeeded in exploiting the grievances of the teachers and lawyers to get their political demands. Because ever since 1984, there was this growing demand by a small influential group that wanted independence as a separate state. And that group used the teachers' grievances, used the lawyers' grievances in an attempt to achieve their ends. So they hijack the genuine grievances of the lawyers and teachers to impose in their political demands, which was independence for Northwest and Southwest.
Wow. Okay.
Which, unfortunately, they had no mandate, and in the course of that, the misinformation, and disinformation, the uneducated, ignorant Cameroonians, the unemployed, those who were the thieves, all joined, and then hijacked the movement, and now and took up arms based on lies again. And I think you will recall that at one time it was even said that the UNESCO will not recognize the certificates. And I can bet you, I heard educated Cameroonians saying that UNESCO was not going to recognize the certificates 2017 and 2018. I was shocked.
What certificate is that?
Educated Cameroonians.
What certificate is that, sir?
Pardon?
What certificate?
That is a first school, GC O level, GC advanced level, and degrees given by universities in the Northwest and Southwest. The GC ordinary level and advanced level will not be recognized by UNESCO. That's what was said in 2017 to 2018. Big lie. But some Cameroonians believed it, and some parents even withdrew their children from school.
Okay, let me see something here, Prof. Because the Ambazonian struggle is the main thing right now. Like is what is in the forefront of everything right now. But what you are saying is, initially the teachers and the lawyers had a genuine cause.
Yes.
But the Ambazonian idea was always in the background.
Yes.
And so the idea of Ambazonia hijacked this teachers and lawyers movement.
Yes.
So I know that Gojin Dinka is the architect of the initiative of Ambazonia. This is what I want our people to understand, where it left from the teachers and the lawyers marching to Ambazonia. Can you touch briefly on how maybe Fon Gojin Dinka came about that idea, and then let's see how it interjected the teachers and the lawyers, and then where we find ourselves today?
No, the point is it all began in 1984 when the name United Republic of Cameroon was changed simply to a Republic of Cameroon. And Gojin Dinka and group argued that it meant that the United Republic of Cameroon had pushed out, had separated from West Cameroon, and therefore the former West Cameroon, which he called the Ambazonia, should now become an independent state. That was his argument. But to be fair to him, he did not called for an armed struggle. It was the SCNC that was created in 1955 that said one of his tools to be used would eventually be armed struggle. So that's why, for instance, in 1999, you had the SCNC attacking Radio Boya, and then they announced the independence of Northwest and Southwest, although it did not materialize, but that's how it was.
Wow. So if you look at, okay, so he came up with the idea, Ambazonia, and
yeah.
My burden is trying to reconcile the differences between the nation changing from a federal system to a unitary system, or from a unitary system to the Republic of Cameroon, and how that is being interpreted as secession. I want to understand that, because it's a very prominent idea right now. Why is that interpreted as the French-speaking Cameroonians seceding from the Union?
Now, you see, it is just... It is bad faith. Then that's all what I can say. Because if it was when it was United Republic of Cameroon, and now Republic of Cameroon, from a political international point of view, what has changed? It's just the name. Just the name. Unfortunately, it's just the name. And you see. This change of name in 1984, which some Cameroonians are once more, distorting the story, saying that Biya signed a decree changing the name. Now, it is not true. It was a motion of Parliament. It was tabled in Parliament, adopted by Parliament, and then sign it into law. So that should be made very, very clear. But the point I'm making is this: we should be very, very careful. I have said this several times, and I've been insulted, but I keep on saying, you don't solve a problem by refusing to acknowledge that the problem exists. You don't solve a problem by creating another problem which will explode 10, 20, 50 years down the road. This whole idea of independence of Northwest and Southwest, how far the frontline leaders of the Ambazonians show that the population of Southwest wants to be in an independent state with the population of Northwest. I say it, and I've been calling them that, I'm one of those who divide the South, the Anglophones. No, let us be honest.
Yes.
And ask ourselves. And at one time, I made it very clear that we are no longer in the 1950s or early 1960s.
That's true. Where
the two parts were governed as one. And believe me, you'll be shocked. I was insulted, and one person even called and said, I stammered and 360 times. I said, so what? Address what I've said. So because if we refuse to recognize that we have not yet solved the problem, whether Southwest and Northwesterners, Southwesterners want to be and together, and it is imposed, 20, 30 years down the road, you find a situation where Southwesterners, when I say Southwesterners, I don't mean the population in Southwest, because the population in Southwest includes everybody.
Yes.
But if indigenous Southwesterners.
Southwesterners, yes.
You ask them. Yeah, no, let's be frank. You ask them, do you want to be in an independent state with Northwest citizens? If they say yes, fine. If they say no, you cannot force it. You cannot, because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, because some people say, well, yes, what Professor Ngoh is saying makes sense. Let us go in for a referendum. And then you tell them that the referendum must make it very clear those who are eligible to vote in Southwest and those who are eligible to vote in Northwest. So they asked why. I said, please, at least I know what I'm saying. A good number of our brothers and sisters from the Northwest, their parents or grandparents came down here and worked in the CDC plantation, palm plantation, elders and fires, mokete plantations, and they have their children here, and they have not gone back. But when the concerns an event, whatever concerning Northwest, they participate and they go back home. So but when it comes to taking a major decision of that sort, I say those who are not Southwesterners should go and vote. If they're from Northwest, should go and vote in Northwest. Those Southwesterners in Northwest should come and vote in Southwest. And they say, oh no, they are all Anglophones. You understand that creates a problem. You cannot say and they are all Anglophones. No, if they are all Anglophones, then why do you call for a referendum?
Yeah.
So it's a very delicate issue.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Prof. Prof, looking at where our nation is right now with the Amazonian crisis, will you say that? What will you describe the Anglophone problem to really be? Like, what are we struggling with compared to the rest of the nation?
No, you see, as far as I'm concerned, there are two points which we have to agree, or Cameroonians or Anglophones have to agree on.
Mm-hmm.
But three things. First, a federal system is not equivalent to secession, because a good number of Francophones believe that a federal system equals a secession. No. Secondly, a federal system is not a magic word that you just wave it and all the problems are solved. We have a good example with our neighbor Nigeria. Nigeria has a federal structure, but there are problems.
Yes.
So nobody should think that a federal structure will solve the problem once and for all, or solve all the problems. Thirdly, one of those who believe very strongly that the special status has failed to address the issue. So Cameroonians should accept that even if they eventually accept a federal structure, they should be prepared to accept that they will not solve their problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the federal, it should never be thought of a return to the two-state federal system. That one is out. And it should not be thought at any one moment that the Northwest and Southwest will form one state. You will only be creating problems 20, 30 years down the road.
So Prof, yes, go ahead.
So the government is talking of a decentralization and whatnot. Unfortunately, the government is putting in place the special status, the decentralization in such a sluggish manner that the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. So you find most Cameroonians Anglophones saying that the special status has failed.
So what is it that the French Cameroonians are getting that the English Cameroonians are not getting in Cameroon? What is it that they are benefiting from that we are not?
No, you see, the Anglophones suffer the complex that all minority groups suffer.
Okay.
That one should be made clear. Yeah. All minority groups, be it in the US, in Nigeria, in the UK, in South Africa, minority groups always have a problem. That one is clear. But it is now left for the government to address and minimize those problems. And that is where good governance, financial governance, administrative governance, may come in. With the high rate of corruption and embezzlement in the country, it becomes very, very, very difficult for the ordinary Anglophones and, of course, Francophones to accept certain conditions. It becomes very hard.
So right now, Prof, so what is your whole concept? What do you think about the Ambazonian? When you hear about the Ambazonian idea, what comes to your mind? What do you think this specific movement? I want you to talk a little bit about your perspective of this movement and where you think the nation is with this whole idea right now.
Yeah, my first reaction is that it is unfortunate. I repeat, it is unfortunate that the Anglophones who call themselves Ambazonians with their armed group, the Amba fighters, are dehumanizing Anglophones. The Anglophones that they claim to be fighting for. The Anglophones are not responsible for them not having their independence, their so-called independence. So it beats my imagination why the Anglophones should be kidnapping, assassinating Anglophones. To gain what? You just imagine the poor worker with CDC. He or she is kidnapped and the hands cut. What has that poor worker, the plantation worker, got to do with independence? Got to do with refusing you to have your independence? How do you expect that poor worker with the hands cut off, both hands there, how do you expect him or her to survive tomorrow? No, let's be frank. When you have a situation where the government is trying to construct roads, your own road, and then you go and burn the road construction equipment, and who suffers? And the road construction and company is owned by an Anglophone. So you go and burn the equipment, and then tomorrow you will complain the roads have not been constructed. So these are some of the things. You prevent Anglophone children from going to school, but your own children abroad are going to school. They even graduate. You take graduation pictures and put on social media. But you are preventing Anglophone parents in Northwest and Southwest from sending their children to school. And then you say you don't want you don't want Francophone influence. But you chase Anglophones to escape and take shelter in Francophone zones. For 5 years, since this crisis started in 2016, there are more Anglophones now who have become more or less like Francophones. So what have you achieved? No, No, let's be frank. Because at the end of the day, 10, 15 years, those of you, those frontline leaders, the Amazonians supporting this conflict, and those of us at home, our children cannot go to school. 10, 15 years, your children will come. They will come back as engineers, medical doctors, lawyers, accountants, and what you can think of, well placed. And then our children will end up being a night watchmen, cooks, and drivers. I'm not saying that those jobs are poor, but our children will be forced to end up as a night watchmen, cooks, drivers, houseboys, because they were prevented from going to school. So what type of society are they trying to build in Northwest and Southwest? That's my worry. That's my fear. It pains me. And then when you talk, you receive phone calls and may threaten you. It's unfair. It's unfair. What have we done?
So, okay, Prof, I'm just having a lot of emotions just hearing the things you're saying. And that is why I'm standing up to do what I'm doing right now. It's a very uncomfortable position. I understand what you can be going through. Prof, so when you look at the situation in the Northwest and the Southwest, it indicates that they said about 60% of the income is being generated in the English zone. Is that true? The income of the national income, or maybe GDP.
No, I think they are counting, saying that because of the oil. But with the crisis, everything has gone down. CTC output has dropped drastically. Palm oil output has dropped drastically. Mokete plantation same. Sonala, of course, is what it is now. Almost nothing. So who benefits? Toilet tea is here. Production has dropped.
So Prof. Yeah. So Prof, what do you think is the position of the various interested stakeholders and the quest for resolving this crisis?
No, you see, I think that it needs a political will on both sides. The unfortunate thing is that the Amazonians have raised the hopes of the unemployed,
yes,
those who want them to make money, the thieves and all that, to the extent that a good number of them have just become highway robbers. Very few of them talk of independence. Very few. Very few. I was told the other day that some of the fighters were promised that after the war, they will be sent abroad and they will get married to white ladies. I was shocked. But that was their main. That was the only thing that they went into to fight for. That after the war, they will be sent abroad. It's terrible.
Wow.
It's sad. It's sad.
So,
and then you ask yourself, even those are the Amazonian leaders, they don't agree among themselves, and they are corrupt. At least that's what they themselves say. They call this name and say, insult him, he's corrupt. This one is corrupt. So all of them are corrupt. They don't even have one central command. They don't. No, tell me who is their main leader? Of course not. They have about five different groups. They don't even agree.
Wow.
No, it's so sad. So sad.
Yeah, it is. It is.
They cannot say they are prepared to dialogue. Then they say independence is off the table. Then you are coming to dialogue on what again?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you are even talking of independence. You are not even sure. There's no proof that you have ensured that the Northwest and Southwest, the two regions, accept to have independence. You are just forcing it on some people. That's it.
So when you look at everything, Prof, as we wrap up this session, how is it that we are talking about dialogue? Are the Amazonian leaders representing the teachers and the lawyers? I want to understand like their position in this whole thing. If it started with the teachers and the lawyers, and then it moved to the Amazonian leaders, and then we are talking about dialogue. So are they coming to negotiate on behalf of the teachers, or now the movement has changed to forming an independent nation?
No, and the way I look at it, honestly, the teachers have no influence over what is going on.
Okay.
The lawyers have no influence. And if you recall, the lawyers and teachers were among the first group to be kidnapped and killed. Yes.
The same lawyers and teachers.
No. Yes. They have no control over it now. So you're calling them to dialogue as who? As who? And then you have the Amber. They want them to come and dialogue. Who represents them? Who is their spokesperson? Who? At one time, you were told that Julius Ngoh is their spokesperson, but one of the Amazonian Front leaders said no, a prisoner cannot be their spokesperson. So you see, who speaks for them? Who?
Wow. So, Prof, where we are right now in our nation, because I've received a lot of calls, people are worried. What do you think is the way forward? Let's leave the like you've talked about the sovereignty of the people. At the end of the day, I think the sovereignty of the people is paramount. What do you think the people right now on the ground are saying? Do they want to continue with this, or what is their plight right now? Do they still like the idea of independence, or what are the people saying?
You see, it should be made clear that it is not military force, and that will solve the problem.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Yeah, military force can be used alongside dialogue. But to think that military force will, you see, you cannot use gun to kill
an idea. Yes.
You use discussion, argument to convince the person that the idea you have is wrong, but not that you use military force. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the government should have the political will to dialogue in good faith. Thirdly, the Amazonians should be honest enough and recognize that their so-called fight for independence has failed and will not succeed, especially in view of the fact that there's no guarantee that Northwest and Southwest agree to be one in one state. So they should recognize that, and know fully well that some of us think that what they are doing now is just making more money on the blood of Anglophones, and they should accept to come and sit down and dialogue with the government without emphasizing every now and then saying that independence is non-negotiable. At first it was that they were using the independence issue as a negotiating position that they were eventually settled to for a federal structure. But those who thought that we have been completely sidelined. It's only the hardliners who are making much money out of this mess, who keep on saying, no, we want nothing short of independence, because they are financially exploiting the crisis. Not only them, of course, some other people in the system that directly or indirectly they are exploiting the crisis, while the Amazonians and Amber fighters are they making money for themselves, of course.
So when you look at if the Amber leaders want to sit down and talk with the president, don't you think that they will be scared that if something the president, they might arrest them?
No, why scared? They can get and third parties to talk and guarantee their security, their safety. It is done. It is done. Cameroon is not the first.
So they have leaders that have emerged like ordinary citizens who became leaders and then ended up being in a position where they can negotiate on behalf of the people.
Yeah, but they must convince. That is this is not my point of view. They must be able to convince us or convince the government that yes, they are speaking on behalf of the Amber fighters or the Amazonians. No, not anybody should just come up and say, "Oh, I'm representing A." The A is who?
Yeah. So this okay, interesting. Like this is how I looked at it, and I wanted to hear your input on this, because I remember quite well when Martin Luther rose up in America here, and I think maybe you remember that time when he decided to say the black people are struggling and we have to mark an end to this, and he rose up and gave the marvelous speech, "I Have a Dream," and rallied Americans to move the nation forward. I've looked at this issue for a very long time. I've been a victim. That is, a relative of mine was kidnapped in a similar situation back home. So I've been a victim of this. So getting involved in this is because I've looked at the strategies that these leaders are using. I've looked at what the government is doing. I've heard from numerous stakeholders and victims back home. And I see like this is going nowhere, and it's like it's only getting worse. So I was stepping up to say, if no one is saying anything about this and people are just looking at each other, I looked at the whole nation, Prof. I know that Cameroon, I took the history way back to 1472. From the time the Portuguese came, right up to the time where the Germans were kicked out of Cameroon, Britain, and France. So that is how I stretched my imagination on this history. And I'm like, we've lived together for about 506 years, excluding the 45 or 44, 45 years, respectively, we lived under France and Britain. And I see us as black people in that nation, that no matter what happens, we can reconcile our differences and move forward. And with everything that is happening, I think we've lost a lot of young people, and it breaks my heart. And I believe, Prof, and I want you to help me with this, because I've lived here in America, studied here. My undergrad is in divinity, so I was starting to become a reverend, and then I went on to pursue a master's in business with a concentration in finance. I believe that one of the issues that we are struggling with has to do with poverty, and I think that is a very prominent issue in the entire continent of Africa. So looking at that, Prof, I remember what happened here in America, I think at the end of the Civil War, when everybody thought this democracy was a failed experiment. The Americans wasted their time, or the Europeans wasted their time coming over here to build this democracy. It was business individuals that rose up and changed this nation. It is the John D. Rockefeller, the Andrew Carnegie, the Vanderbilt, the Henry Ford, and J.P. Morgan. These were individuals that rose up and transformed this nation. And so looking at that history, I draw inspiration from them. And I believe in people, and I believe that the people can actually rise up and bring about their transformation. And seeing everything that is happening right now, many people have told me that yes, they are members of the government that are making money out of this, and they are members of the Amazonian movement that are making money out of this struggle right now. And so the incentive to stop the war is not there on their part. So my thing was, Prof, I'm talking with you, because you are one of the people that I trust your work. And that is why I said I'll have you come and talk to the people so that they can be able to hear the true history of their nation and understand what is going on. I want to be able, Prof, to call an end to this war. And if the dialogue is going to happen, fine, but it should be declared that we are free, and our territory should not be governed by people that have guns, go around kidnapping people and causing unrest. And I think we have to mark an end to that. And it will start by someone believing that this should happen. We are responsible as Cameroonians to initiate peace. Every problem was created by man and can be solved by man. Proceeding with dialogue, fine. If not, I believe that Cameroonians can rise up and start thinking entrepreneurial, how to build businesses, build companies, and elevate their conditions. No matter what that problem is that a human being is going through, there's always something you can do to make it worse. That is my philosophy. Like you said, there are many groups like the Anglophones around the world. They're a marginalized group of people everywhere, the Jews included. But they changed their story by changing their philosophy. They did not complain. They decided to become industrious, to become smart. Just like the Bamini case, they experienced struggles sometime in that nation, and they got involved in business, and they've changed their story. And I think we can draw inspiration from all these people. And so my mission is to see that I help young people get out of this gun game. Young people below the age of 40, we don't live in the 60s anymore, and we have to let the past go. And I wanted to understand a little bit from you, Prof, like the assimilation system and the indirect role system, and benchmarking that with the unity system and the federalism. Because I noticed that most of the countries that practice federation or federalism are predominantly English nations. Because I've studied the French culture as well to understand the lifestyle of the people. Because I think that was one aspect that has been missing in our nation, is the Anglophones understanding Francophones and Francophones understanding Anglophones. Because we had this English heritage, they had the French heritage. So I want you to clarify me on that.
Yeah, you see the point you have made is very true. The Francophones do not accept or cannot understand a federal structure. You see, they are used to this Napoleonic way of administration, the Gaulle way of administration. Just imagine that the government in Yaoundé, for instance, wants to build an airport in Moliko, and the governor of Southwest says no. Can you imagine that? But in a federal structure, it is done.
Yes.
But with the Francophone system or the French system, it is unheard of. You must take all others from Yaoundé. But with the federal structural system, the governor, the elected governor of Southwest, has the powers to say no.
Yes.
And the federal government has to come and negotiate. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the Anglophones don't understand the Francophone system, and the Francophones don't understand the Anglophone system. It becomes difficult. What makes me happy that at the major national dialogue,
yes,
in the Commission 8, where I was talking about the system of government and decentralization, when the issue of a federal system came up, most Francophones supported it. That's what really comforted me.
The Francophones supported the federal system?
Yes, supported it. Supported it. That they also wanted to be a separate federal state, not only Northwest and Southwest. They supported it. So it is something to get them to understand, get the Francophone to understand, get the Anglophone to understand. And the initial idea right from Bernard Follum was that they will get the best of the French system, the best of the English system, and then mesh them. That's what was initially intended.
That is exactly what I thought. Yeah, that we can have we can select the best from both systems and look for what actually works. It's not what is coming from the English side or the French side, but what actually works that can help move the nation forward.
Yes, and the Amazonians or Anglophones should understand that the Francophones are not their enemies. And the Francophones should understand that the Anglophones are not their enemies. The government creates problems both for Anglophones and Francophones.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, so so that's exactly how I looked at it, and I'm like, at least we can, while we. I don't get it, but so when you talk about so I noticed, because I read the literatures of the French history or the French evolution way back to the 1400s, just looking at their evolution and how the Napoleonic era and how they do things and all of that, and I'm realizing why we because the idea of people feeling like, okay, why don't we have maybe factories or companies in the Northwest and the Southwest? Why is it that we don't have the the seaport in Limbe is not constructed and all that. And what would you say to something like that? Why is like the seaport, we have a better system, or maybe we have the opportunity of a seaport being constructed in Limbe? What would you say is the reason why maybe that is not done?
No, it is just a poor governance. That's all. Do you know that the amount of timber, amount of minerals that the East region produces? But the roads, the standard of living, the roads are horrible, are horrible, and that is a francophone area, but they are suffering. You see, so it is not a matter of anglophone or francophone. It's a matter of poor governance, bad governance.
So the entire nation need help. The entire nation needs help. And
yes, of course. In fact, it is good that Cameroonians should travel around the country. They will be shocked. This situation in Womb, the road going to Womb is horrible. The road in Dian, some of the roads, they're horrible. In the East region, horrible. In the far north, horrible. Can you imagine in some places in the Grand North, government primary schools have completely dilapidated buildings, completely with people sitting on the ground in the 21st century.
That's sad.
You see?
So another thing that and that's why I was looking at it, Prof, because I think our greatest issue, and this is my understanding of this problem. So you help me understand this, or help me clarify my thinking. Okay, so when would you say was the moment in our history that our people thought of seceding? The first idea, the inception of that idea. Yes.
No, you see, this thing was 1999 when the SCNC attacked Radio Boya, CRTV Radio Boya, and declared the independence of Northwest and Southwest.
No, because you said in 1985 the name Ambazonia came, so which means the idea of secession has been out there for a very long time.
Yeah, but it was not really. It was not really well made. It was only with the creation of the SCNC in 1995.
Wow. Okay. So Prof. So with that, I want to say, what if everything in our nation, Cameroon, what if everything was put in, let's say we don't have to depend a lot on government, because I feel like there's a lot of dependence on government in our system. The people don't have like the right to their own prosperity and becoming somebody or making something out of their lives. I don't see that kind of push in the whole nation. I hear a lot of government has to do this, government has to do that. Like some people even think like, oh, it's the government responsibility to teach our people our history, and I'm like, we should be able to. So
unfortunately, that's the very poor mentality that most Cameroonians have. You will not believe that you are in a vehicle driving somebody in the vehicle. It's a banana, and then throws the banana peelings on the road. And tomorrow that person will complain that the government has not cared to clean the road. The road is dirty, heaps of rubbish everywhere. As if it is the first thing is for the government to do that. Cameroonians, as individuals, we have to be responsible. We have to be.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, we have instances where the ISACAM, the company that clears that, puts the big basin for debt to be poured inside. That people come and then just throw the debt outside. So it needs our own civic responsibility too.
Yes. So, Prof, but you think that looking at the structure of Cameroon, the unity system or the federal system, given the fact that you mentioned all the socioeconomic situations that we're dealing with prior to abolishing the federal system, do you think that the unitary system would have been left out, or it would have been instituted, given the fact that we understand that there was not enough money in the economy to manage both systems?
Now, as far as from my research, it was not really an issue of financial difficulties. It was not. The financial difficulties came about because of corruption and mismanagement. To be honest with you, Cameroon is very rich in natural resources and human resources. So Cameroon has no reason to be poor.
So then what is the problem? Why are we struggling, Prof?
No, it's bad government. How do you explain the fact that with a population of maximum 30 million, Cameroon has 60 ministers? So you explain that how? Nigeria with a far larger population, South Africa, Canada, France, Norway, they have much less. But Cameroon has 60. To do what?
Wow.
To do what? No, you have, for instance, the minister and the Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Secondary Education, Ministry of Basic Education, Ministry of Vocational Training, Ministry of Research. These five ministries. Why? For instance, why? Why? I know what that means.
Wow. That's a lot of money going out too from the government coffers to pay those people. Yeah.
Of course.
So what do we do with all of these kind of systems, Prof? Do we have the power to limit the powers of this kind of government that we have created as a people?
No, my take on that is Cameroonians need political education, because at times you see election period comes around, you are shocked. Cameroonians who must have criticized the system for the last 5 years, elections come, and you are shocked to find them supporting that system or the party that they had criticized for long. As long as the party comes with money, box of rice, fish, salt, and whatnot, then the next month they complain again. But that's the problem.
So the people are contributing to maintain the same system, because during the election time they change their minds when they are bribed.
Exactly. Take, for instance, I'm sorry to say we have been talking for long. This crisis in Northwest and Southwest, how many parliamentarians, municipal councillors, mayors, senators have gone around to their constituencies to see what is going on? How many? Not tell me. Elections are coming next year, but you find them. They will come out now and say, "Give me your votes, give money here and this," and they are elected. Since November 2016, we are today February 2024. How many parliamentarians, senators, mayors, municipal councillors have gone round to see what their people are going through?
So I think so the people should, so the people are actually enabling the system, because if something is not good, you should be able to reject it. No matter what they bring to you, you should be able to say no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that the Cameroonians need a political education. I've been in areas where people have complained vehemently, only for elections to come, and somebody who never cared about them for the last 5 years takes 1 month, comes and gives money, moves around, and they elected, and they elect him back. Then two months after that, they complain again.
So then, wow, yeah, I think
it is the responsibility of political parties to make sure that Cameroonians, the average Cameroonians, are well educated politically.
Yeah. So, Prof, what do you think can happen right now to end this war and have peace? Because people are saying that they need conditions before they end the war. The people on the ground, what do you think can be done immediately? Because my take was this.
Some people in the population protect the amber. Protect them. So you coming out with that. Do you have the support of some of the frontline leaders? If you can get to support your proposition, it will be very, very good, very, very nice, because the population is also tired.
Okay, because the people that I've heard from, most importantly, Prof, like I've heard from the most of the people that support the end of the war are the population. The frontline leaders that you're talking about, all of them, most of them are corrupt, and they are collecting money from this struggle, and they don't even want to hear this kind of story, this kind of message being preached.
Yeah, the point is, if we can, or you can convince the population that enough is enough, because the population protects some of these fighters. They come to the village or the town in the evening, buy food and all that, and some members of the population carry the food and go and give them. So the population should know what it is doing. Some members of the population are informants. They get information that the military is coming or whatever, they inform them. You see?
Wow. Yeah, because that's so yeah, okay, so I think maybe sensitizing the public more on what they are doing, because I don't understand how they can be cooperating with this when their own children are not going to school.
And the point that, and I've said it several times, the government was very slow in addressing the lies that the Ambazonians put out. Government was very slow. The government communication department failed woefully, and allowed the Ambazonia to get control of the political stage. So they told the lies that they wanted, and the population believed it.
What lies did they sell that the population bought?
Let me give you an example. When beer in November 2017 at the airport in Yaoundé, when he came from abroad, he gave an interview. The Ambas had killed 4 national security officials. Biya gave an interview and said those and criminals who committed the crime would be in summary form would be hunted down. And the Ambas took it and translated it that they had declared war on Anglophone. I don't know if you've heard them say.
I've heard that a lot. Yes.
2017. Yes, but which is not true. Biya referred to those who killed the military guys. But they turned around and said Biya declared a war on Anglophones in Northwest and Southwest. And the government was quiet. Government was quiet. The video is there.
Yeah, because I've heard that said that they started the war. They declared war on us.
Yes, that Biya declared war on Anglophones on that in that interview. I've played that interview, replayed it, and I've asked them. At one point, some of them said, "But forget about that." And I said, "Why?"
So did he actually declare war on the Anglophones?
No. We have the tapes, the video. So the government did not move in to show the population. Say this is not true. This is the video. So when some of us are saying that it's not true, the Amazonian leaders take advantage of drugs. They give these guys tramadol, give them drugs. When they smoke or drink, they feel that they are so powerful. I'm sure you have seen them putting all sorts of chains around their necks.
Yes.
Saying that they are protected. Bullets cannot kill them, which is not true.
Yeah.
And then when their leaders are killed with all the chains around their necks, they say, "Oh no, and they did not respect one of the rules."
All right, if you like this video, you're gonna like this other episode, and you can watch it by clicking right here.